Yeah. That's the real inspiration for the album right here. Yeah, the album was written quite on like quite an introspective way. So it's not really about what's going on around me, more what's happening inside, if that makes sense. It's sort of about it's sort of like reassurance, really, for me. That it's okay to not be okay all the time. I guess it's exemplified in a few of the songs in different ways. Feelings of Dying Alone, I think, is sort of the most obvious one. Some of the songs actually evolved as I was writing them, as we were making them. Sort of not having fully formed ideas yet. Some of them took sort of throughout a whole year to write, really. Painfully Aware took quite a long time to write. Whereas some of the songs, they were written when they were written, and that they didn't really change much, other than like a few sort of production level things. They didn't really change that much. So Sweet, actually, that came about because of one effect that one guitar effect that I bought, called the Dresden Synth Fuzz by Frederick Effects. It sort of sounds like this. It's got it's a weird sort of fuzz. It's only sort of plays one note at a time. Otherwise, it sort of glitches out. It's quite aggressive, and it's got like an octave above, an octave below. I think it sounds really, really cool. And that was the basis for that song. And everything else was added to it, like the lyrics, the synth doing the bass. So then that one, there's no stringed bass. It's all synth. So it's all quite an artificial, graty alt rock sound that I quite like. This was also actually one of the songs that sort of evolved as we went. It didn't ever stay as one thing. Actually, I think it had maybe 4 or 5 different choruses that I couldn't decide which one I liked. Some were harder to write lyrics to than others, until sort of we finally settled on one that I like the best, really, and that fit the most. And that's why I don't think there's actually the words. Originally, there was the lyric "So Sweet" in the song in one of the choruses, but that got cut out, and I replaced it with a different chorus, which I prefer much more now. Actually, I prefer the chorus we've got now, but I preferred the name, so we stuck with the name. I think also the ending was written in the studio. That's the ending solo. I think that was written in the studio. I don't think that was actually finalised until then. I just knew I knew roughly where it was going. It was going to be like a big explodey thing at the end, but I wasn't sure if it was going to go back into a chorus or if it was going to end on a solo, exactly what it was going to do. But eventually, sort of, I decided, me and the guys at SOL Studios decided that the solo was the best way to go, and we wrote that sort of on the day that it was recorded. Drifting was really fun to record, so I think that one had the most tracks on the album. It's something like 70 or 80 individual tracks, and then in total, once all the mixing was done, it was maybe about 100 over 100 tracks. That was really, really fun to record. It had so many different layers to it. Sort of you've got that underlying bass sound, but then you've got sort of a guitar mixed in with that to really make it punch. Then you've got on the sort of guitar side, you've got sort of various different guitars playing various different parts to overlay that in the verses, and then you've got a really, really thick sound in the chorus. That was a lot of fun to record. Really, really fun. Tell me where you die, I'll be there to get my satisfaction. Everyone talks about heaven. So with Wobbly Business, that was actually... There's two sort of halves to Wobbly Business. You've got the first half and you've got the second half, which is like a coda section. That was originally going to be a second song, so there was going to be two. Wobbly Business was going to be two songs, one that leads into the other. But I couldn't get the second one to work. Just nothing really worked with it lyrically or thematically. Just nothing came together. So I sort of just took the bits that did work from that second song and smashed it on the end of Wobbly Business, because they were supposed to be a set. It wasn't just one random other song. They were always going to be a set, sort of talking about the same sort of thing, and I found that duality quite interesting. So I wanted to keep that, but I didn't want to have that other song. I didn't want to have two songs. I just wanted to keep it with just the one song instead. This song is more of a story than some of the others. Some of the other songs are sort of just more feeling based. This one actually tells a bit of a story. I also wanted this song to feel sort of more like a band in a room than some of the other ones. The other ones are quite, some of the other, especially Drifting, which is what it just came off the back of. Drifting's quite a big sound. There's loads going on. Like I said, like 80 tracks or something. Whereas this one, I wanted to feel much smaller, more like a band in a room, only like 4 people there. So we kept it all quite narrow sounding, quite small, boxy. And I think it creates a really nice contrast and really nice break in the album, especially before Not Tonight, which comes in guns blazing again. Really aggressive alt rock sort of sound. Got you sick of yourself, got you dreaming of everybody else. Oh, why go with a life you can't help? At least stop while you're a man. I don't have as much to say about Not Tonight, not because it's not got a lot of meaning to it. It's just its meaning is more inferred. Like it's that sort of frustration. And it was a really cathartic song to record and release because of that. It's that sort of aggression that's in the song. I really just want it to be about a feeling more so than like a story, and it is more about how the song really makes me feel, and hopefully makes you feel when you listen to it. Time's Up was another one that took on more of a story, like Wobbly Business. I sort of say it's about someone who gets everything they wanted, like they won the lottery or something, and they sort of reject their old life, they reject their old friends, the people they used to know. They sort of cut that all out and move to this new life, but then suddenly it's all taken away from them, and he has to sort of come crawling back to the people he was insulting, almost. Fighting a lifetime away. Your home and I thought that was quite an interesting premise. That sort of regret, those sort of feelings of regret. I thought that was quite an interesting sort of way to go with this single in particular. Wide Silly is the lead single on this album. Again, really fun to record. That was completely inspired by my new purchase of my synth, my Korg synth. That was almost entirely inspired by this. I I was just messing around with it. It's a lot of synth sound. So I think there's 2 lead rhythm synths. Got that first sound, this one. I was like, that's really, really nice. Okay. And then I was just kept messing around with different sounds just to make it sound big again. And then there's also 2 bass synths playing at the same time. And we mixed them together. The guys at SOL Studios did an amazing job. Mercy and Ruben, they did an amazing job at mixing. The whole album, but especially this song. There was a lot going on in this song.
So did you do lots of experimenting, recording a bunch of different synth sounds, and then you basically decided those
were the ones that worked? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Basically, I knew I wanted like something grating like that. Because they're both got that same sort of vibe, but that's like a finer edge. And another one with a lot of tracks that's sort of reaching up towards 70. Mostly because we got carried away. It was getting quite late when we finished recording this, but we were recording various different things. I think there's a toilet flush on this track. There's paper being ripped, like briefcase, like the clasps on a briefcase, those sort of clicking. There's loads of different things sort of popping up here. We got quite carried away, and I think actually it did really, really, really help the song. It's all very subtle. You wouldn't necessarily realise what sounds are what. Like at the end of the bridge, there's like a big swell, which is just paper ripping. There's 2 sets of paper rips, which create then like a crash when it's done. So that was quite cool, and doing all of that was really, really fun. And SOL Studios did an amazing job mixing all of that together just to make it sound cohesive, really. High at 2 AM, that's one of the older ones, sort of written probably summer 2019. It was written mostly for live performance, really. I wanted a new song to play live, and I wrote this. It's got like a big solo at the end. It's just a lot of fun to play. Again, I'd say it sort of sits in between not having a story and having a story. It's sort of got a rough story. It's not as concrete as something like Time's Up or Wobbly Business, but it does still sort of have a narrative to it. This song is the first song that really, really delves into mortality and sort of the effect of understanding mortality. But yeah, it was mostly sort of just done for something to play live, something new to play live, because I'd sort of worn out my old set, and I needed something new. So I wrote this, and it's a lot of fun to play live. The big solo at the end is a lot of fun. No, it's hard to go wrong. Let's try it. Let's give it some.
Here is some. Here we go then.
My Open Sea was a really fun and interesting track to record. It was quite frustrating to record, but it was fun once it was over. It's got less structure than any of the other songs. It has just 3 sections, maybe 4 if you count the last solo as like a section. You're my open sea. verse and then the ending solo, right? So I guess you could say it's a verse, bridge, verse, outro. So there's no real chorus to grab onto here. It does hold a special place in my heart, though. I think the first time I really heard it, like completed, it sent shivers down my spine. So I was like, finally, it's there. To understand this song, you had to hear it with every layer added, because otherwise it just felt really lackluster with just drums and one guitar. It's got loads of different guitar layers, loads of different layers. I think there's violins in this song. There's a lot going on layer-wise that you can't really enjoy it until all of those layers are there. So it's all about that build. And when you don't have all the layers, you don't have that sort of crescendo that you get, well, as it is. So it almost wasn't going to be on the album once I was recording, because when we were recording I was thinking, oh, this doesn't sort of feel great, until it was finally done, and then it made sense. It all made sense. I realised where I was originally going with this song. So I don't think I'm supposed to have favourites for an album, but it's one of my favourites just because of that. Not because it's necessarily a better song than the others, but because it took so long to appreciate the song that it was. So, Painfully Aware was actually the first song I wrote for this album. I actually think even after the EP, so even before Put On Those Glasses, which was released immediately after my debut EP, I think I'd actually written this song first. I just hadn't decided what it was going to be really yet. It even had a sort of a very, very different vibe and a very, very different chorus to it that got revised over and over again. I just really, really struggled to write lyrics to the chorus. There was so much going on. It was too manic, really, I think. Quite like that. It's a bit more chilled out, which gives the sort of the very, very end of the album quite a chilled out vibe. I mean, even like Feelings of Dying Alone, that builds and builds, but it's still quite chilled. And I think it really starts with Painfully Aware. That really sort of starts to chill out. And I really like that now, how that sort of evolved. That took probably about a year to get. That took about a year to get that chorus. It really took a while.
Out of the fire, gonna wake, gonna open my life up to see. What do we do?
Sort of a song about the past. It's kind of about looking back nostalgically and thinking, oh, how it was always better then, when it probably wasn't. You know, did we always know better? No, we didn't. Was life better? Probably not. You just look back nostalgically, right? You know, everyone does it, and that song sort of encapsulates that. So I thought that was interesting. I do quite like that. It's also sort of just saying that, you know, life's not always easy, and that's fine. Life usually isn't easy.
Down to the floor's hands. 'Cause we don't know better after all. Ever take more than your
Then to sort of bookend the album, was the first single I released from the album, which is Feelings of Dying Alone. The song actually raised £600 for NHS charities together, which I was blown away by. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who streamed that song at the beginning of lockdown, who bought it and donated. All that money went to a great cause, and yeah, I think it was really, really worth it. Originally, it wasn't going to be released then. It wasn't going to be like a single pre-release to the album. It was going to be released with the album. Then Wide Silly was going to be released before, but then obviously the pandemic happened, and I thought this song spoke. I think this song spoke to the sort of general consensus feeling-wise a bit more than Wide Silly. Whereas, Feelings of Dying Alone's, I think, sort of encapsulated that vibe a bit more. without knowing that that was going to happen. It's sort of a strange coincidence, but I'm glad that we managed to raise some money for a really, really great cause. This song, because it's the end, the end of the album, I wanted it to sort of really encapsulate my sort of thoughts, which is that it's, you know, it's okay to not feel okay all the time, right? You know, feelings of dying alone are unfounded in my mind, but I need reassurance sometimes. It's, you know, it's okay to need help. It's okay to not be perfectly happy all the time. This song also barely changed when it was written. It was written kind of right at the end of my writing process. It was probably one of the last songs I wrote, one of, if not the last song I wrote, and it didn't change since I'd written it originally, only on acoustic. It's just
Ever take more than you're given, fighting away for, please sir, may I have some.
So yeah, that was the original version, and it didn't really change that much. I mean, it changed a little bit. There's, you know, what exactly was going on, the details changed, but the actual song, its structure, how it all flowed, what was happening, the lyrics didn't change really at all since I'd originally written it. It was a really interesting song to write as well. It just sort of popped into my head a little bit. I was like, oh, that sort of works, and I figured out some chords for it, and it just fit together. I sort of plucked it out of the air, which was really nice. It meant to do less work for that one, but that was made up for in the studio because there's a lot going on in that song. Yeah, I really love that song. So, my debut Old Town Rats, which is actually the inspiration for the album art designed by Millie McAllister. Sort of a bit of a tangent, but I thought that was quite a good point to make.
Oh no, I hated the click. Because the click was like on it, and I was like, oh, this is awful, but I couldn't say anything. And then you turned it off, I think, at some. Yeah, so I was like, oh, thank God for that. So yeah, no click.